I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year. I often get every occasion it comes up, and it's a very irritating thing. Well, it's been so long, 3,400 and some days, and yet the Father's done nothing about it. And then when I respond to that, the answer is repeatedly taken down. So here's the answer. At the first court hearing, when my kids were taken because of a rifle, I went immediately to the City of Akron Police for help. I got none. I went to the county sheriff for help. I got none. I asked Judge Kim Hoover for help. I got none. I sent letters to the City of Akron Police Chief, the City of Akron Police, asked numerous City of Akron police officers for help, not just in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. I mailed material evidence to different law agencies throughout the state since Summit County was so hell-bent set on stealing everything of mine, therefore removing any evidence. So why not just mail it away and ask for help? I have spoken regularly at Kiwanis, Lions, Rotary, Masonic meetings, Chamber of Commerce, anywhere I can, every opportunity I can. With every public servant that I've interacted with, I've spoken openly and directly, asking for help. I've also gone to fundraisers of corrupt public servants, speaking openly of them obligating me to kill them, to be in compliance with the Constitution, both of the state and federally. Now, when I do that, it's not because I'm dysregulated and I want revenge. It's not because I'm willing to cut off my nose to spite my face. It's because they will either accelerate the problem and arrest me, which gets me in front of a judge in a real court so that my kids can start beginning to have some fucking justice. Or it accelerates it, as if they do their job, to federal agencies, although they don't seem to do their job at a federal level, do they? So what is it you think I should do? I bicycled throughout the state, visiting the top 5% of campaign donors in person to speak to them so that they could understand what is going on within the state of Ohio, that their monies are funding, that the state of Ohio government does nothing to regulate the county. You want proof of that? Twice the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled how we fund schools is unconstitutional, yet 0 counties have come within compliance. You know who's fine with county governments breaking state law and federal law? The state of Ohio and the federal government of the United States. You know what is the one commonality amongst all veteran suicides? The presence of a domestic court. You know what drives suicides for non-vets, those who are not trained? Domestic courts. You know what drives homelessness in Ohio? Domestic courts. You know, where nobody's sworn in, there's no jury of the peer, no state law is present, no federal law is present, and no city prosecutor, no county prosecutor, no state prosecutor ever in the history of Ohio in my lifetime have prosecuted a judge. What more clear display of a mythical sovereign king could you ever have over a constitution than that? Now, I was supposed to kill myself like the rest of them, or become drug addicts, because for that you just need the genetic marker and pain. How much pain would you be in if every day your kids are being criminally abused with intent, premeditated, and no one will help you? I get people who say, "Oh, why don't you get back in? Why not participate in the economy?" Why would you ever want to participate in an economy of your tyranny? Would you tell the Jew in 1935 that they should just invest more in the mark? And when I type out these answers on YouTube, guess what? They're removed immediately. It's easier to silence truth than to present accountability. Yet what's the point of having law enforcement in the state of Ohio when all you need to do to be a criminal is to mask yourself as a public servant? You want to convince me that what I should do is get back in line and purchase access to my legal rights and that which is inalienable? And I don't use hyperbole. When I have no rights to own land, own guns, own personal property, vote, travel, bank, work. When I went to the police, Summit County prosecutor removed all my licenses within the state. Hell, I was shook down by my own attorney. Well, I mean, what you're asking for isn't that unreasonable. What I'm asking for as the primary caregiver of my kids is 50% of the time with my kids. That's all that's important to me. That's what the state minimum is for the primary unemployed caregiver of the kids. And you can't pretend the court didn't know it because they awarded me spousal support. And then the judge removed my attorney, made up nonsense, and ignored all the evidence she already illegally took. There is no reason, none. And then add on to it how many times public servants have threatened my life and predated on me. And I'm not just talking about the psychopathic cops out there that feed on homeless, which is a real thing. So to the oath takers out there, you know why your brothers kill themselves? Because you're failures. You hear that, Marines? Failures. We are a republic. I don't need to refight the Revolutionary War or revote or resend or somehow reestablish the supremacy of the Constitution within the borders of the United States, let alone Ohio. And I have no need to fill out paperwork when I'm being alienated from that which is self-evident, true, and inalienable, like a child's right to their father and a father's right to their child. So what would you have me do? Coach me up. What would you have me do? Help me start this new year. One of my kids has already turned 18. 3,405 days of me regularly asking for help and receiving none. What would you have me do? Would you have me to begin no longer talking my neighbors out of killing public servants? There's a bunch of them that are dying. They're already dying from horrible diseases, and they'd like their death to have meaning. So why not just let them, encourage them, organize them to light up our public servants until justice and the American Constitution and the state Constitution comes back into compliance? Or is it easier to pretend that I didn't send and ask for help directly from the governor in 2018, 2019, 2020, or Robert Yost in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023? I understand some of those years was when Mike DeWine was prosecutor before Robert Yost. I've been asking the offices throughout the state for our help regularly since 2017. What would you have me do? Would you do after 3,405 days? Now, I have a huge problem in that a father without children to love is like a human body with no heart. It cannot live. It cannot sustain. So when a family is gracious enough and kind enough to invite me in, I love them as though they are my own. It's my only chance. Why would I ever want my kids to see me after all these days having practiced less love? Why would I allow my enemy to marginalize me and just throw me away as, oh, that's a crazy person? Why would I become my enemy hoping to overcome them? 3,405 days. You still think there's oath takers? Because I don't think there are in Ohio. And by the way, Air Force, Navy, Army, Coast Guard, Space Force, you're all losers. You're failures. The reason your brothers commit suicide is because you're failures, because you took an oath to defend the Constitution against all her enemies, foreign and domestic, and then you allow this to occur to your own families and your own brothers in your own homes. I didn't take an oath to defend that Constitution. Why is it I have more integrity than you, cowards? Why is that? Now I'll ask the entire world this question. Why would we, the people here in Ohio, continue to have any peace, let alone allow the surviving of Mike DeWine or his family? Because make no mistake to those that are in public servant arenas, tyranny predated on we, the people, through our kids. You have attacked us through our kids. You have tortured us every day through our kids. At some point, a war gains parity, meaning we attack our enemy through their kids. If the United States Constitution doesn't exist and is not going to be present, then why would there be any American grace? I find it more disgusting and reprehensible that it was my neighbor that volunteered to then go predate and do this. I find it more reprehensible that my neighbor who volunteered was a millionaire before they did this. I find it more disgusting and reprehensible that they had a doctorate in knowing better, that they spent money to convince the neighbors that they gave a shit and they would be better. I don't find it less accountable that the city of Akron police does nothing to defend the Constitution within those own city limits, allows their neighbor building to commit endless state and federal crimes as a matter of record, and then do nothing to enforce it because of some mythical sovereign king. I find it absolutely disgusting. We're a republic where the public servants are to feed on themselves first. And I ask you, have you know of any case ever where your county, city, state prosecutor has put public servants in jail? Yet Ohio keeps winning awards for the most corrupt state in the union. Think of that. The most corrupt. Not Wisconsin, not Michigan, not all the Somalia nonsense. Good old-fashioned Ohio. So what are you going to do with this message? You going to delete it? Please add in the comments what you would have me do to better fight and advocate for my freedom as a slave with no rights to travel, no rights to work, no rights to own land, no rights to own guns, no rights to own personal property, no rights to even see my own kids. No rights for the police to come help. No rights for the county sheriff to come help. No rights for the city prosecutors or the county prosecutors or the state prosecutors to come help. Zero federal rights, zero state rights, a slave. And you know who funds the retirement of the judiciary of Ohio? The debtors' prisons, corrupt county domestic courts that are in the business of manufacturing deadbeat dads so as they can maximize the extortions from failing families that need help, and then take the victims and throw them away out of society so you don't have to worry about them because now they're in jail. Would it make any difference if you knew I was an Eagle Scout? Would it make any difference to you if you knew that I had won a presidential scholarship for going to college? If I graduated with honors, would you give a shit? If I had done a beautiful Eagle Scouting project, not only as a kid that won the Hudson Beautification Award, but what if I did one every year as a grown-up my whole life? Would you care then? Or are you so quick to judge? Or you want to pretend that me living, carrying the burdens of violence peacefully from a bicycle, nomadically throughout the state, while continuing to keep myself in harm's way so that I can advocate for justice for me and my kids. coach me up. Help me. Help me with this new year, and you coach me up. Thanks for your time. Know your love.